The dim light from the hallway filtered through the cracked door of apartment 304, casting a soft glow on the floor that seemed to highlight the dust swirling in the air. Charles Hunter, a successful millionaire in his mid-40s, stood outside the door, his hand hovering over the brass knob. His sharp features and expensive suit betrayed his years of navigating through high-stakes business deals, making him accustomed to the luxury of a fast-paced, high-class life. But today, he was here for a different reason, one that, in his world, felt almost beneath him. He was here to collect overdue rent. The tenant, a young woman named Tasha, had not paid her rent for 2 months, and the building management had reached out to Charles as the landlord. Though he had lived in the world of million-dollar mansions and private jets, managing a few rundown apartment complexes on the side was one of his ways of diversifying his income. Usually, the tenants paid on time, and he was quick to turn a profit, but Tasha's case was different. He had never met her, but her rent payments had become a nuisance, and Charles didn't like it when things didn't go as planned. With a sigh of frustration, he twisted the knob and pushed the door open. The smell of stale air and old fabric hit him immediately. His eyes scanned the room, a small one-bedroom apartment that seemed frozen in time. Old furniture cluttered the space, with mismatched chairs and a table piled high with sewing supplies. A single threadbare rug lay on the floor, and a faint hum of an old sewing machine filled the room. Charles's gaze shifted to the corner, where he saw her. Tasha was seated at the small table, her head bent low over the sewing machine. She wore a tattered, faded yellow dress that hung loosely from her frame, her hands moving with precision as she worked the machine. The faint smell of sweat lingered around her as she worked tirelessly, her face strained with exhaustion. Her dark skin glistened with a sheen of sweat, and the bags under her eyes told the story of sleepless nights spent sewing. Charles had expected many things when he came to collect the rent: anger, excuses, pleading, but he had not expected this. He had never seen a woman so consumed by her work, so deeply entrenched in her own struggles. For a moment, he stood there, unsure of what to do. His initial instinct was to remind her of the rent, to collect what was owed and move on with his life. But something about the scene before him, the sight of Tasha hunched over the sewing machine, stopped him. Tasha didn't seem to notice him at first, her focus entirely on the task at hand. The rhythm of the machine was steady, a mechanical beat that seemed to echo the exhaustion in her body. But as Charles took a step forward, her eyes lifted slowly, meeting his gaze. There was a moment of silence between them, a kind of unspoken understanding that lingered in the air. "Mr. Hunter," she said quietly, her voice hoarse. "I'm sorry. I know I haven't paid the rent. I just can't right now." Her words, spoken with such weariness, made Charles pause. He had expected anger, maybe even defiance, but instead he saw something different, something that he couldn't quite place. He looked at her more closely. She couldn't have been more than 22, but her appearance made her look years older. Her hands, which had been moving with practiced precision on the sewing machine, now rested on the table, trembling slightly. She didn't make eye contact anymore, as if the weight of her situation had become too much to bear. Charles had heard stories about people who were struggling, but he had never seen it so up close. His life had been about success, power, and wealth. But this, what he saw in front of him, was a different world. A world of hardship, a world of people doing whatever they could to survive, even if it meant sacrificing their health, their sleep, their dignity. "I don't want your pity," Tasha added as if reading his mind. "I know I've messed up. I know I owe you money. But I just need a little more time. I'm trying to make it work." Charles didn't know how to respond. Part of him wanted to tell her that it was her responsibility to pay on time, that the world didn't stop for anyone's struggles. But another part of him, the part that had seen enough of the world to know how cruel and unfair it could be, wanted to listen, to understand. Before he could respond, Tasha's hands began moving again, reaching for another piece of fabric. She seemed determined to continue working, despite the toll it was taking on her. Charles watched her for a moment, his mind racing with thoughts he hadn't expected to have. It wasn't just about the rent anymore. It was about something deeper, something that challenged everything he had come to believe about success, about wealth, and about people in general. Why don't you tell me what's going on? Charles asked finally, his voice softer than he had intended. I might be able to help.